How's it going, everybody? This is Dailies to Downloads. We are back, and we are going to do nothing but documentary shows from now on. Right, Eric?
Yes, exactly. At this point, we should admit that all of our previous episodes were scripted, and they do not qualify as nonfiction entertainment.
So no, we're switching up categories today. We're going to be talking about horror villains or monsters that you can relate to. Now, obviously, Eric, we're not condoning some of the things that these characters are doing, but you can maybe understand
But we
why.
kind of are. I think we kind of are. I mean, we'll see when we describe these things, but we'll see how far down the slippery slope we we go.
We'll see
Yeah.
if YouTube demands that we do not record anymore after this.
I mean, if you want to really make your case, you're going to have to kind of,
So we're describing it in that way. Horror villains you can relate to. Some articles I read, horror villains you cheer for. I don't know about cheering, but we'll see, right?
Yeah, that's a different kind of. I mean, there is the experience of seeing a horror movie in a theater and like the big jump scare thing where people do kind of, scream and cheer. But I don't think they're. I've never surveyed these people, but I don't think they're advocating for violence to be taking place. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Hey, every audience is different.
That's true.
So we each have 3 picks, and we're gonna start with our number 3 picks, and we'll kind of go from there. So my number 3 pick is Leprechaun from the Leprechaun movies. And why is he relatable? Because why would anybody want their gold to be stolen, Eric? Right? I mean, come on now. It's these people are taking his gold or his shillings or snooping around where they shouldn't be, and they deserve what's coming to them.
And is that how it because I've seen I don't know 2 of them, 3 of them. The first one I remember, the Jennifer Aniston one. They're on like a farm, and is he like from another universe or something? Like, do you remember I can't recall what the stepfather. The stepfather. Sorry, I revealed mine. Leprechaun is like what his origins are.
Well, I never saw the one with Hornswoggle from.
Oh wow! No, I didn't. I forgot that existed.
That one actually is called Leprechaun Origins. I've not seen it, but I don't know that he's from. I mean, he might be from another dimension, another realm. The first one with Jennifer Aniston is actually my least favorite. It's very much a straightforward horror movie.
Yeah.
But it usually, his gold is misplaced. And somebody
not by him, right? Not by him. He doesn't misplace it. It's not like he has amnesia and just keeps forgetting where his damn
somebody comes upon it, and then he seeks his revenge. In one, I know he lost a shilling, and it ended up in the hands of a couple other people, and so he would hunt them down, and that's usually how it goes. They all have other twists, on it, but. They're funny movies, and I'm a big Warwick Davis fan, so I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want my money to be stolen, Eric.
But there is. I think it was the second or the third one where he goes to Vegas.
That's my favorite one.
And I mean, there's a lot of gold there. I mean, unless that gold had specific powers, I can't recall if there was if he's so tied to this specific gold, or if he just loves tokens.
There's like that guy eventually gets infected somehow and starts to turn into a leprechaun himself, and
oh really?
That one's very much a B movie in every sense of the word. You got one-liners, nudity, everything. So
yeah, Leprechaun has a very bizarre I don't know
trajectory.
Yeah, when they took him to space, when he went in the hood, they just threw anything they could to the wall, and
well, Eric, I think the lesson here is, don't steal people's money, least of all leprechauns.
Did he ask for it back and they just refused? I'm trying to remember. I guess.
Well, that's honestly, all the films would be really short. If he would just ask politely.
It's hey guys, I got this very, I'm very particular and very cloying about this gold thing. Didn't want to bring it up, but I'm very sensitive about it. And they're like, hey, totally understand. Our fault. We didn't realize that. I mean,
I've misplaced my funds.
I misplaced my funds. Yes.
So yes, that's my number 3 pick. Eric, what's your number 3 pick?
So I had The film The Stepfather, and I'm talking about The Stepfather. Looking up his name again. Well, he has like 5 different names, of course, because he takes on different aliases depending on the new family that
You're gonna have to defend that one. That's
Well, what I didn't really think about when I came up with this pick was that there are apparently a few real serial killers that the character was based on, which I guess then does make me kind of feel a little weird. Again, not condoning, um, but it
not
does
cheering for them.
exactly. I'm not cheering for him, but from what I recall, it's that yes, he assumes a new identity, and he is trying, I believe, to like start. He's definitely trying to start fresh. I believe it's comes from a I don't know, it comes from a good place. He wants to start. He wants to start anew. Unfortunately, that requires him to kill his previous family. Those are the brass tacks that you get a little boggled down in. But I think then he starts. There's a great scene in the basement when he's by himself and he's like arguing with himself, and then he can't remember like who he is now, who he is with this family, and it's this stepdaughter of his that is a little freaked out by him, and then like he becomes a real estate agent, and somebody comes to see a house that he's showing off and they recognize him. And so I mean then you gotta kill the guy, right? I mean, because like he recognizes you, he's gonna blow your cover. So I feel like there's
So
again
the
a lot of
Leprechaun movies, though, he could just ask nicely, like, you've recognized who I am. Could you please not tell anybody? That's
that's true. That's true. I mean, the stepfather, he does have a past. He has a history, and there are like in typical horror movie fashion, like he just shaves and like okay, nobody
all it
recognizes.
takes.
Like there are like all these like FBI posters, but then he shaves and nobody recognizes him anymore.
What will happen
And, like
when you shave? Will
I,
anybody
I
recognize you?
look, I get that it can definitely change your appearance. But he's so strategic. Like the original movie opens with him. You see the blood of this family that he's just murdered, and he's in the bathroom, and he showers, he puts all like their belongings in like a briefcase, and then he throws it into the river, and like he's a new man. He's restarting again. Um, and obviously there were sequels because it just it just keeps happening. It's a story that can actually just keep going and going as long as he makes it out alive. I don't exactly. I saw the second one as well, but I don't remember too much. But I just feel like there needs to be a serious discussion about mental health in this country, and I think that he could have gotten if he would have been able to talk to somebody. He might have been able to.
There's apps that you can just talk to people online. So
I mean, but this was like what the '80s.
I
You
mean,
know,
hey, if he's still out there and maybe
the
he
stepfather.
changed
I mean, yeah. I mean,
aliases, we could recommend you know one of those apps to him.
yeah, and I will say I don't know how beloved he is for his morals, but I will say that I went to a drive-in last year, and they were going to be showing the original Stepfather, the film from 1987, and then when it started on 35 millimeter film, but then when it started, we quickly realized that it was the 2009 remake. And within 2 minutes, everybody started booing and honking their horns, and they're like, "Shut this shit off! Shut this." So, I mean, he's definitely beloved, at least to some
Has
degree.
anybody used the term "beloved" to describe the stepfather? That might be a first.
I don't really, I don't know if the stepfather really comes up in everyday conversation. I mean,
It
I think
should.
also,
So shouldn't it?
I think what's also good about this idea, this concept for this movie, is that typically a step parent in movies at least, is usually the outsider. I don't want to say villain, but either has to win over a child or goes the complete opposite route and is like the despised
Right.
intruder into the house. So in that respect, it plays on those fears or those gripes that a younger child may have that's still living with one of their parents. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I would, be if I could vouch for him or be his sponsor or whatever. But I do think he could have been steered on the right path if he just would have had a little bit more, one-on-one interaction.
You get started on that script, then that's
he just he take like if he would have taken up another hobby or something,
Yeah.
or I don't know, you know, he gets work, he gets jobs somehow, and then it gets
Knitting, you know,
oh,
hey, you never know. If he just had a hobby, right?
that's true, He just,
All right, so my number two pick, I actually toyed with this a little bit, but my number two pick would be Carrie. And I mean, hey, if you're bullied that much, I mean, even though what she's doing is crazy and wrong at the end, to a point, you're like, hey, some of these people had it coming. Not all of them, but right.
yeah, and actually that was one which I was. Do you think of Carrie as the antagonist?
Oh
Like
yeah, I was gonna get. Yeah, we were gonna get
yeah,
there too. Yeah, to a
because it's
certain
tough.
extent, maybe the mom is
Yeah,
more, or the kids in the school, but certainly
yeah,
based
yeah,
on her
yeah,
final actions, I would say that she turns herself into a
yeah.
villain.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Like I do think, and that's also something with a lot of horror movies where you will have these stock evil high school characters or whatever. So yes, you do want to see them kind of get their comeuppance, but not to the. Yeah, this is why fiction entertainment is somewhat
Not the mass
therapeutic.
bloodbath, right? It's
Right, exactly. Like that might be going a little far. Like maybe a suspension, something like that would have been nice. But she doesn't have to slaughter the entire the senior class, I guess. But yes,
so maybe she did go a little bit overboard. You know,
yeah,
we understand, but we're not condoning.
it
That's
is.
that's
It's
the
weird.
theme of this episode.
I never even thought. I don't want to get serious at all. But I mean, like I do think that when you think of like the mo of Carrie, like that kind of MO has been the responsible for a lot of school tragedies in the past, however many years, right? And unfortunately, that is all kind of comes from this bullying kind of revenge kind of plot, right?
Right.
And that's why Carrie has to also die at the end of the movie,
Right.
because she's murdered she's stabbed by her mom, right? And then she kills her mom, but then she dies. Because she also has to kind of, you couldn't not kill her off. Thinking about creating this story without her, I think that's what it is. Like there is a shade of like, well, she is the victim of so much of this abuse, but she also needs to be, to be taken to task for the extreme actions that
Was
she
there a
takes.
sequel to the original?
There was.
I don't know if I've ever seen it actually. Now that we're talking about this out loud.
It's the Rage Carry 2.
That's right. That's what it was.
Um,
That was different character, wasn't it?
yes, but Amy Irving comes back as Sue again. Because the last time we see her is when the Carrie's hand pops out of the grave and grabs her, and then she wakes up screaming.
All right.
And then she comes back as like a guidance counselor in the high school years later. Of course, why not? Why would she go back to work at the school where all of her friends were slaughtered? Who knows? Maybe it's a good 401k. But yeah, she goes back, and it's like another young teen.
Right.
I don't remember if she has any bloodline like relation to Carrie. And it does the same thing. I mean, she gets bullied, she takes revenge, goes the same
Have you
route.
seen the remake? I think it's shot for shot. Could be wrong. I thought it was, but
I didn't see the one. There was a TV one in like 2003 or 2004,
I
which
definitely haven't seen that one.
I saw that and that was not great. And then there was the Chloe Grace Moretz, Julianne Moore one, which I did not see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is shot for shot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think I mean, but I think that is a good choice. I almost wonder if it's a fair choice because I think that is the most gray character you could probably have on this
right.
list, right?
That's
Like
true.
I think that's the and she doesn't even really know about her powers or how strong her powers are. So there's also the sense of like she may not really have control over it either, right? Like at the prom.
Well, at least to a point, yeah. Yeah.
But then remember when she's walking home in the blood, and then John Travolta's coming by in the car, and she like flips the car over, and it explodes or something. By that point, I guess she's pretty well equipped at her powers. But
So what's your number two pick?
Okay, so once again, I find myself after I hear yours, I have trouble justifying some of these. But Okay, not justify. So I think one that always comes up, at least for debate and interesting discussion, is Jigsaw in the Saw movies, because I think there is this kind of like fun um aspect of like, well, he might be morally correct. He's kind of like seeking vengeance on these bad people who have done corrupt and like evil things themselves in various degrees. And he's not obviously this would not stand up in a court of law, but he is not himself
Killing them.
he's not himself murdering these people. Now, yeah, if you put a bear trap on my head, I think that pretty much counts as an illegal offense. But he's not necessarily the one that's
It would
connected.
probably get an intent to harm at the very
At the
least.
very, at the very least, a second degree intent to harm, probably.
Jigsaw's out on parole after 2 years because they can't nail down a murder charge.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, like at least 4 or 5 Saw movies, he's dead.
Right.
So I mean, you really can't arrest him at that point. So like he's just been so precise with these cassette tapes, and he did not foresee the digital future. I guess he just had to have all these cassette tapes, but he was so meticulously prepared, with these like Rube Goldberg machine
I was
devices.
gonna say, yeah. I mean, despite the fact that he isn't doing it himself, he's pretty cold. He's pretty
Yeah,
cold
yeah,
being taken over.
absolutely. I don't think anyone would necessarily see him as a sympathetic figure, but I do think that when you would hear like new directors or new writers come on to these films, the way they would talk about the character almost did kind of sound like he is this, this figure, this symbol of vengeance or anti-hero.
Almost like a vigilante to a certain
Yeah,
extent.
exactly. Yeah, almost in the sense of like Death Wish or things like that, where it's like someone has been wronged and now they're going to be taking the law into their own hands or whatever. And now Saw is an extreme example of that. It's a gory slasher thing. It's not Taxi Driver or something like that, But
Right.
I mean, it is that kind of if not sympathizing with a villain, at least they're giving you enough of a. I mean, as you see in the sequel, so much backstory, too much backstory about this guy's life that they are at least trying to give him extra shades that are going to make him feel like a real character. Whether or not that's completely successful, that's debatable. But I do feel like it's a more complex villain. That's at least what they're trying for. You know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And it'd be interesting to see. There was going to be that new one with Chris Rock that was going to
Oh yeah.
now, and then obviously it's now been delayed indefinitely. But
Right.
interesting to see where it goes, I guess, from here.
Absolutely. So my top pick to me, and the one that, in my opinion, kind of really exemplifies our topic, is the Frankenstein monster. And I mean, this is a character that didn't ask to be created, and he was created from
None of us have. None of us have.
from dead people. He was stitched together, and obviously the person that created him was crazy, and he's obviously not comfortable in this body and really doesn't know what to do with himself. And when somebody does show him genuine affection and tries to be nice to him, that's somebody he accidentally kills. So I really do feel like this is a character that, although is a villain and a monster, you do understand why he acts the way he does and why it might piss you off. Like if you were created with dead tissue,
Yeah, yeah,
reanimated.
absolutely. And I guess that is, I guess the penultimate scene of him and the young girl at the
Right.
by the lake. Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, I don't know if I even see him as like a villain, because maybe Frankenstein's
In
weird.
the first one, there is a little bit of a gray area there. I will
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
grant you. After that, though, they really do go down the rabbit hole of him becoming,
yeah,
more of a monster. But yeah, in that first one, there is certainly a little bit of a gray area there.
yeah. You're the universal horror canon, I guess, is really what. I mean, if you want to see really sympathetic too, the Kenneth Branagh, it's not great. Where De Niro is Frankenstein's monster.
Oh,
But I mean, that is like completely sympathetic, and he's obviously wronged, and they're really, hammering that home by the third hour or whatever, that like, but yeah, I mean, that one I probably couldn't argue with at all, like, because it does seem like the most sympathetic, and they don't even make him, even the bad stuff that he does is by accident because he doesn't know any better, like, it's not like with Pet Cemetery where people come back to life by no choice of their own, but seem to be kind of like demonized and like are like, now evil incarnate when they come back. He literally seems to just be a zombie before
There's a bonus one though, the cat from the Pet Cemetery movies.
Yeah.
Like if you were that cat and you were brought back to life, you'd be pissed off too. Like this family sucks.
Yeah. And all the cat did was like killing mice and normal cat stuff. When you think about it, and then he put it down
at this house, and with all these trucks speeding down the roadway.
Yeah.
And now you bring me back to life, and I didn't like it to begin with.
Yeah, like maybe he smells a little bit differently because he doesn't have a pulse anymore or something like that. So of course you're not gonna rigor mortis, I guess. But like, he doesn't do anything that wrong. I mean, the humans are a different story. That little boy, the Gabe, the 5-year-old boy that becomes like a Freddy Krueger, that he has harder to justify. But yeah.
So what's your top pick?
Okay, so for me, I hope this counts as a villain because he does murder people. It is the character of David Kessler in American Werewolf in London, who is the werewolf. Because that one, again, it also may have to do something I'm realizing with like the tone of some of these movies. I think also the American Werewolf in London being almost like primarily a comedy, or at least like 50% comedy, maybe even like it's a very jokey movie.
Sure.
That also I think weighs on the tone of it because yes, he becomes a werewolf because he is attacked. He's not killed. His friend is killed, and because of that, his friend keeps showing up in different degrees of decomposition as the movie goes on,
right?
As a zombie spirit. But because David has been slashed like in the throat or something by the werewolf, he becomes one, and those I think are the typical kind of thing where they can become a human again. But if it's a full moon, or if it's going to hit midnight or whatever, they know that they're going to become dangerous. And so I'm warning everyone I love because as soon as it happens, I'm going to be this, blah, blah, blah. So they are really, they're probably very much like I guess like the protagonist in a sense, again, like, it's hard because
character that turns into a werewolf is probably a good example, save for Teen Wolf, but like the classic Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. Is certainly a good example as well. I mean, obviously he's a good guy, but in a sense, similar to like the Frankenstein monster, he becomes uncontrollable.
Yeah.
And therefore, the damage that he does makes him into a villain, even if we know he's a good person at heart, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, and the Teen Wolf guy. I mean, he's he's a lot of personal fouls on that basketball court, but he's not great on free throw percentage or anything like that either. But yeah, I think that was. Did you have any like alternates, or was there one?
Well, when I talked about Carrie, I was gonna pick Death from the Final Destination franchise.
Well,
but like then I was like, how do I explain? How do I justify? How do I, like some of the kids are annoying, and that's why we're related. So
I think
that's an out of the box pick, but
I think Death is very. It holds a grudge. Doesn't let it go. If you somehow skip your supposed death, it's coming for you, no matter what. Like you can't. I guess like it doesn't want to be shown up, right? Like if you
can't escape it, right?
You can't escape it. It really holds a grudge. It's really pissed off about this, and we don't know why. Tony Todd knows a little bit, I guess. That would also Candyman is also an interesting kind of anti-hero. Who's at least got more of a complex backstory than a lot of the slashers that
right
are more popular.
Right. Well, Can you think of any more picks, Eric?
Um,
Candyman was a good one. That's
Candyman's a good one, and I was also thinking of the extra shading that Scorsese gives Max Cady in Cape Fear,
sure.
where he obviously I forgot the legal terms, but he did do something wrong where he was like accused of, I don't know if he was accused of rape or not, I don't know, something like that. And then the lawyer, who's Nick Nolte's character, hid certain evidence to make sure that his client got a longer sentence for like another 20 years or something like that. So when he eventually does get released from prison, he has a bigger axe to grind with this lawyer who deliberately withheld evidence or things like that to screw him over.
That's cool too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Max K is an evil guy from the start, but that extra, our protagonist character is also very flawed, and so at least I think it's a better movie than the original because of those kind of extra shadings.
Yeah, I'm a lot of one character that came up in some of the articles that I came across was Hannibal Lecter, but I don't know like they incorporated his backstory and stuff into their justification for it, but I don't know that I would pick him, but he's worth mentioning here.
Yeah, he definitely seems like one who just maybe more than the stepfather could get back on the right track. If he would, he's a smart guy. He's a doctor.
Yeah.
But it's just he has. Look, we all have our guilty pleasures.
Yeah, I mean, I like junk food from time to time.
I mean, that's essentially what the cadavers are. He likes his Chianti with some fava beans and some human liver or whatever. It is. Yeah, I thought of that one, and also like I haven't seen it, but the Hannibal series from a couple years ago.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it certainly humanizes him.
Yeah.
More. I mean, the story is obviously a lot longer and stretched out.
Yeah.
A very good series, very good performances. I wish it would have gone on, but
yeah, I think that's a good example. Also for all those Hannibal movies, there's always like another larger villain, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo Bill, or he's always
one that's undeniably evil.
Exactly, yeah. And Hannibal is always needed by the FBI to get them, Right. So in a way, yeah, he is working with them, especially in like Manhunter, the Michael Mann, like yeah, he's crazy, he's a bad guy, but they need him to work with them in order to get this extra evil dude at the top. So that is good one.
Right. So if you guys have any other picks or any people you thought we should have mentioned, please let us know. So for Eric, my name is Chad. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Maybe with special guests, who knows? We will see you next week.
The stepfather.